everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Thursday to you all. I hope that you're having a fantastic day on this Thursday. Just a reminder that this week we are talking about why you're not motivated, and today, Thursday, we're going to be talking specifically about you're too focused on the negative. But before we jump into the episode, again, happy Thursday. If you're having a hard day or if you're struggling with, part of your day so far and you're just kind of over it, I encourage you to do the 5-minute reset, which is to take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself. It will allow you to reset, reboot, restart your day right then and there, and it'll allow you to kind of draw a line in the sand as well in case you are just, like I said before, super over the part of your day that's been kind of dragging you down, causing you issues, giving you trouble. You can just kind of end your day right there and restart a new one right away. The 5-minute reset also allows you to take a break from any issues or burdens that you are dealing with that are dragging you down, that are causing an additional weight on your already stressful and busy day. Also, you can take the time to come up with any resolutions for problems or issues that you're dealing with, whether that includes someone else or not. I always encourage everyone to come up with a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for, big, small, or medium size. Maybe you're grateful that you took some extra days off of work for the holiday season and those got approved. Maybe you're grateful that you got a really cool bonus at work, so you're able to, spend some extra money on presents or be able to have the extra money to buy presents now. Maybe you're grateful that you're able to spend some time with your family this evening, watching some TV, eating some dinner. Or maybe you are grateful that work has not been as stressful as it has been before. So you can literally be grateful for anything, based on that example list that I just gave you. It just means that your list of things to be grateful for is never ending, which is amazing, and helpful, so you always be able to just, come up with a quick list. And last but not least, make sure that you're feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day, because hopefully by creating that gratitude list and just reflecting back on positive blessings in your life, you can spend more time focused on that, and that'll help you get through those really hard times that you may be currently going through, as many of us are. But I do hope that you're having a great Thursday. Like I said at the top of the show, this week's topic is why you're not motivated. And today, specifically Thursday, we're going to talk about you're too focused on the negative. So let's just jump right in. This really comes down to letting fear consume you and not allow you to go after your dreams and aspirations. And I've spoken about fear before, and I probably will again, especially after the new year rolls in, because I feel like a lot of people will confront their fears, at the top of the year, but then it kind of creeps back in and takes over our lives. But in regards to motivation, I feel like a lot of people will lack any sort of motivation at all, or will feel like they have it, from the jump, but then all of a sudden those fears just come in and try to take over everything and, drag us down and beat us up and tell us that we are not worth anything, that we can't do anything no matter how hard we try, we won't accomplish, we won't achieve anything, we won't hit that end of the race where we win it all. Fear does us dirty so much. And spending so much time focusing on what negative things could happen or what has happened in the past will not get you anywhere, as you probably already know. And how do you expect to accomplish anything by allowing all the uncertainty in the world overcome any confidence or decisions you have to move forward? I feel like we can just think that, it's a little bit of fear, maybe we'll push through. But if we don't actually try to implement ways to get through our fear, it will always come back to try to take us down, to beat us up, to prevent us from doing anything that we want to do, because that's what fear is all about. I do highly believe in fear being a good, positive thing. I do believe, and there are so many articles out there. I would just pop it into Google, fear and motivation. There's so many articles out there that talk about how fear is a great motivator. I don't disagree, but I feel like it will get in the way of you continuously being motivated, or even to start being motivated, because I feel like there are things that do jumpstart our motivation because of fear of losing something or someone or an opportunity. Maybe it's possible that you're at work and they hire someone else that does your exact job, and they tell you it's just supposed to be an addition to your team, but you have this fear kind of instilled in you that they're going to take over your job if you don't try double your hardest, triple your hardest that you ever have. So you have that extra motivation to do the absolute best at work because you fear losing your job. Or maybe you visit the doctor and they tell you that you have some sort of illness or problem in your body that can only be really fixed by, getting in better shape, exercising, creating a good balanced diet, doing a, calorie deficit, and that will instill a fear in you to actually start counting calories or figuring out healthier ways to eat and implementing how to get daily exercise into your routine. It's things like that where fear will manipulate us to become motivated to get something done. But I do feel like there are times, many times, where we will focus in too much on the possibility of negatives and the fears that creep in that will prevent us from actually ever starting for a little bit and then just falling out of whatever journey or plan that we are trying to be on. So fear can come in all shapes and sizes. So whether you are dealing with fear of failure, fear of success, or fear of change, it can all be managed so that it doesn't get in your way or crush any motivation you have to stay on your journey. And, I always find it interesting that fear of success is a thing. And, I think that's silly because I do suffer from fear of success, but it's so interesting how it is actually something that so many people, including myself, struggle with because, fear of change makes sense. A lot of people can't, adapt to change and flex very well, especially if there has been a lack of change in your life in so long. It comes out as a surprise and makes you very, very uncomfortable compared to people that maybe change things all the time. A good example would be those that are involved in a military family where you do find yourself moving around often, that kind of change, you kind of learn to adapt and accept it or find ways to cope with it. But, and then fear of failure, very common. No one wants to fail, make mistakes. No one wants to have to try again. It's much easier to just get things right the first time, which is why fear of failure is so strong, because no one wants to go through those uncomfortable feelings. But yeah, it can all be managed so that it doesn't get in your way. And anytime there is going to be a change in your life, that can be fear lingering beneath the surface because we aren't sure how things are going to turn out, and insecurities start to float to the surface when fear starts to get involved. So today I want to share with you some ways to manage fear so that it doesn't hinder any plans or deter you from future possibilities and opportunities. So I only have 5 tips for you today, and they should be pretty quick and easy because honestly, we all know that by focusing in too hard, which is something I talk about right at the top of the show often, when I'm talking about the 5-minute reset, is that, focusing in on the negative will not bring much joy or happiness to your life. It'll just make you kind of forget and push to the side and maybe even take for granted the positive and amazing blessings that are happening in your life on the regular, which is something that we all need to be careful of because we definitely don't want to be taking those things for granted because, once those things do start to dissipate or disappear, then we're all like, oh my gosh, I should have paid more attention. There's so much regret, and you didn't take the time to totally sink it in and, enjoy it, which is why it's important to spend more time focused in on the positive. Even if you feel like there aren't that many positive things happening in your life, I assure you there's more than you think because you probably, again, are taking some things for granted because it's a normal human behavior. But yeah, it's important for us to not spend so much time focused on the negative because all we'll see is negative and we won't see opportunity and we won't see, glimmers of hope and possibility by just zoning in on those negative things. And it'll also prevent us from tapping into any possible motivation, or even even like, getting like learning how to become disciplined so that we actually will continue to go after and work and sweat and grind for our goals. So so today I have 5 tips for you. Let's just jump right into those. Tip number 1 is to imagine the worst and plan for it. So I wanted to include this one. I thought it was funny because I'm talking about how you're too focused on the negative and that will get in the way of your motivation. But what I'm telling you is if you do take the time to imagine what the worst outcome is of whatever it is that you are afraid of, and then make a plan for that. So if you are afraid to start working out, or if you are afraid to, start, maybe you want to be a writer. Maybe you're afraid to start writing books. Or maybe you're afraid of not being able to write very well, or people not liking your writing. Or let's say you want to do videos on YouTube, or maybe you want to do a new job that interviews sports players, or you want to whatever it is that you want to go after, whatever it is that you want to do and accomplish. But you imagine that you will be embarrassed, or you will just flub all over yourself, stepping and tripping all over your words, or you'll be really embarrassed at the gym when you try to do those exercises, or you won't be able to do as much weight, or you'll get tired really easily and it'll take a long time to see any results, any of those things. Imagine what the worst outcome in your mind will be, because it definitely will differ depending upon who you are and what you've experienced in the past, and then make a plan for it. So let's say that you are afraid that you will embarrass yourself when you're practicing interviewing people, because that's what you want to do. Then just plan for how you could recover if you did end up tripping all over your words when interviewing someone, maybe make light of it, or maybe be like, okay, I'm sorry, I just tripped over my words. Just be really real, transparent, authentic about it. Maybe come up with some sort of phrase that you can say that will kind of just, bring you back into your mindset of focused on what you need to ask them questions for. Let's say that you are afraid of going to the gym and people pointing out at you and making fun of you and you feeling embarrassed. Okay, so imagine how super uncomfortable that situation could be, and then plan for it. If someone is, making fun of you directly, maybe you have a plan to talk to whoever is in charge at that gym. Or maybe you decide to go at a time that has less people, that maybe that'll just be the solution that you have right now until you become more acquainted and familiar and comfortable with the gym. Or maybe you decide to get some videos and practice at least some of the form and technique at home, or just in a private room in the gym if you have opportunity for that. But basically what I'm saying is imagine what the worst case scenario will be, and then make a plan for that so that you can at least try and step out and give it a go, and not just throw everything away just because of some fear that you made up that you don't know if actually will happen or not, despite what has happened in the past. Tip number 2 is to be realistic about your fears. So often, I would say, especially for me, we will build up fears in our mind that are not realistic. So it's really important to actually ask yourself, is this a possibility? So let's say that, you want to work in a really big skyscraper building, and you want to work in a fancy business up there, and it's a business that you're really interested in. But the thing that's deterring you is the fact that you are afraid to get in the elevator, because you're afraid of, becoming trapped in the elevator, or, the cord breaking and you slamming to your death in the elevator. I definitely had these thoughts before. But ask yourself if that's really realistic. What is the actual, percentage of people that that's happened to recently? You can even find the information on the elevator that you're going to ride. I believe you can just find that information online, or you could actually go ask the building manager if you really, really are curious, and find out when that elevator was built, and maybe who built it and what brand it is, and then find information on that so it makes you feel more comfortable. But honestly, this is more about just asking yourself, what is, really would that happen? Really, what's the possibility of this? And if you do feel, honestly, after doing some research, that the possibility of that fear actually coming to life is real, then again, go back to tip number 1, okay? Imagine the worst that it could be and make a plan for it so that you can at least step out and try it and give it a whirl, and not just throw it all out together. But yeah, be realistic. Ask yourself if you are being realistic about whatever fear it is. Has it actually happened? Do you have any experience in that? Have you experienced anyone else going through that? And then, because it can really help you calm yourself down, because sometimes we just let our imagination run away with us and we aren't actually thinking clearly about what possibly could happen or deter us from our goals. Tip number 3 is perfectionism sucks. I don't want to talk a lot about this because I feel like I already talked a lot about it this week, but perfectionism is definitely something that can deter us from any sort of motivation that we may have to go after our goals. And I included it in talking about focusing on the negative, because perfectionism is super negative. It sounds positive because you're going after wanting everything to be perfect and in line and in the right space and field and blah, 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 and everything just to a T. But honestly, you're just wasting your time trying to achieve something that you never really will. And it's honestly one of the best ways to procrastinate, because you're waiting for everything to quote unquote be in line when it really, really never will. And it'll prevent you from actually jumping in on any motivation that you may have to go after your goals, because you're trying to wait for everything to be lined up and right, which will never happen. So perfectionism sucks. Do not let that be the negative thing that holds you back from going after your goals and dreams. Tip number 4 is to get another opinion. So not only would it be helpful if you spoke with someone that has, is going after the same goal that you have, it can be super helpful if someone has experienced the same fears that you have as well, and how they were able to manage them and get through them. So I just thought it would be helpful for you if you were able to, on the internet or in real life with people that you know, or through some sort of connection that you've made with someone that you do know, that they know, that has gone through and experienced the same fears that you are having right now, especially if they're very specific fears. Then you can kind of ask them, like, what started it? How did you get through it? How did you maintain that cool and that management of those fears as you continue to go through your journey to accomplish whatever goal it is? So I always think it's important and helpful to talk to a professional. I know I always talking about talking to a professional counselor or a therapist or a psychologist, but I think it is equally as helpful to talk to someone that has been through the same fears and struggles you have, to get an idea of what may or may not work for you and how they got through it, and knowing that people that have succeeded and done well still dealt with the same things that you dealt with and were able to manage them and get through them and not let them hold them back. Tip number 5, and the last tip that I want to share with you today, is to face your fears, chase the fear away. So this is pretty similar to, tip number 1, imagining the worst, but honestly, it's just facing the fear, chasing the fear away. The more that you face your fear head on, the smaller it'll be, and it'll eventually turn into nothing, because you're actually looking in the face and being like, okay, yeah, I'm afraid of this. This really makes me struggle and be scared and want to run away, but I'm going to slowly move through it. I am going to take baby steps if I need to, but I'm going to face it and know that I am bigger and better and badder and more confident, and have the ability and have the support system to get through this and push through this without being totally wrecked. And if I do feel really wrecked, again, I have a support system to help me recover afterwards and then keep on moving through. So I encourage you to face your fear, which will help you chase your fears away and dominate them and be able to continue on your journey to accomplish whatever goal it is that you had in mind. So that's all I have to share with you today in regards to your to focus on the negative related to why you're not motivated. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, my name is Sabrina. Happy Thursday to you all. Don't forget to check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on Instagram, and my email address for any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, hello to me. Again, thank you so much for your support, your love, your kindness, for downloading, for sharing the show, and for enjoying the show. I really hope you guys are enjoying it. So again, don't hesitate to give me any feedback on how to make the show better. Some people have already done that, and I really super appreciate it, and I'm taking some of that advice. So again, have a good one. I hope you come back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to work on your motivation. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.